Welcome to the Tilted Halo. This is a new podcast, and it's for anybody who's a woman in ministry. You might be a pastor like myself, a bishop, a priest, a rabbi, music minister, elder, children's minister, whatever your title is. You're absolutely in the right place, especially if you're someone who loves your ministry and you're doing it well and you're feeling pressure to sometimes be perfect, and deep down inside, you know you're not. And how in the world to deal with that? And men, you're absolutely welcome here too, because this is about ministry and the same thing can happen to you. So you're all in the right place. Let's get started with the show. Needs. There are a lot of needs in this world. There are a lot of needs in our faith community. It would be so much easier if we could just do one thing and, say, check that one off. But the needs that we have as people, most of them are not short-term. They are the kinds of things that keep going. And so, it might be needs within a member of your faith community, your congregation, that, for support going through a physical illness. It might be a need for a family that's going through a struggle and a time of transition. It might be a need of some of the kids in your faith community as they grow up and asking some of the tough questions of life, of who am I? What does this mean? Where do I go? How do I fit? Those are tough questions. It might be a need for people in your community for food and shelter. There might be a need for assistance for kids to learn. There might be immigrants in the community who need to learn English for their primary language, as a second language, So all of these are specific and important needs. And we are called as people of faith to address the needs of the people around us, the people of our faith community, yes, but also the people in the broader community. And those needs are never short term. It's nice to have a fundraiser for a local food pantry or something like that and say, we did that for the year, over, done with. Would be nice if everybody then had food for the rest of the year. That's not true. And we know that. It would be nice if we could say, I went and visited John over here as he's dealing with a new diagnosis, cancer or Parkinson's or some other disease. I went and visited him. Well, that one visit's nice and it's good. But the needs for that are not done. They're just beginning. And all of those different needs, the needs to have funds for your congregation, the needs to have all of the programming for your congregation, all of those needs are there too. Every single one of them. And they're legitimate needs, just like having food on the table is having the spiritual food to feed. There's the need that you have as a spiritual leader, if you're a pastor, a priest, or a rabbi, of sharing a message and being able to come up with that message and having the time to reflect and study, to be able to share that message. That's a legitimate need. If you started listing all of the needs that are there, the list gets awfully long, far longer than most of us feel like we have the energy and the wherewithal to supply those needs. And as an individual, we don't. There's no way that we can supply those needs as individuals. So how can we truly make a difference? What is it that it takes as an individual and as a faith community to really make a difference in what we're doing? The first thing, well, I don't know if it's first, but it's certainly one of the first things, is listen. Listen to what people say within your faith community as to what the needs really are. So many times as a leader, we presume we know, but we don't always. We may know some of those needs, but we may not know all of them. We may not really understand what some of the needs are within that community. There may be changing needs that we hadn't been aware of. There may be changes to the community because of new rules, new possibilities, new events that are happening that we just didn't think about. But, first, so one of the first important things is to listen, to ask the question, what do you need? Ask the questions of what's important to you, more than just what do you need? What's important to you right now? What are you going through? What are you seeing out there? What's happening within your family, within you, within the community? Let me know what you're seeing and thinking and feeling. You need to get in touch with what's really going on. And then you make a difference by being there, by supporting the people who are going through the crises as best you can. And sometimes that means coordinating others to help in the process too. If somebody's going to be going through chemotherapy, let's say as an example, and has a family, maybe it's the mother or the father, and they're not going to be able to work or will be working, but, as best they can, but won't have the time and the energy to do food preparation or be with the kids and all of the sporting events that they used to be there. That might be a time to coordinate with others in the community, in the congregation, who have kids involved in the same kind of events, and be able to come and pick up the kids in this family and to drop them off again, to be there kind of as a surrogate father or mother, to bring some meals once in a while when somebody can't cook, can't be able to prepare things. Some of the needs and being able to make a difference will be things like organizing some community events. Talk to other faith communities in your town or area and see what are they doing to meet some of the larger needs, and how can you coordinate with them? What are they doing, and what could you maybe piggyback on or help support? I know of congregations that help support a food pantry in a different congregation, even in a different denomination, as a way to every week, every month, they help, ask for donations for certain items for that month or that week and help support that food pantry for a whole community. And that's a wonderful idea of cooperation and collaboration as a way to ongoing support of those needs. What about supporting kids at college and university, especially during times where school's not in session? And maybe just heard about this recently. Sometimes when school's not in session during spring break or over holidays, over the summertime, there are teams for sports that are on campus to do certain things, but some of the typical kinds of services like food and some of the other things are not as available to the students in those times. So how can you help support those needs in those times? What ways might there be to help fill in and be supportive of those students some of whom may be from your congregation, maybe not. But, what might you be able to do if you're nearby to be able to support that? There's so many other possible ideas. All you got to do is sit down and start doing some brainstorming with people and think about what else could we do? What's out there? How could we do this? And the beauty of doing some brainstorming sessions and involving as many people from your congregation as you can get to come, or if it's something for a broader community, bring in as many people from the community. Brainstorming means you write down all of the ideas, no thought about whether it's doable or not, but get ideas out there. That's the first important thing. Get all of the ideas out. You know what the needs are. Okay, what are all of the different ways we can meet that? Did that. My husband and I did that with a congregation where we served together, and they knew that there was a leak in the roof. And I think I've mentioned this in a previous episode at one time. And the leak in the roof had been going on for actually a couple of years, and it was getting a lot worse to the point where if it rained any amount, there were come in on a Saturday or over the weekend. If it rained, you'd come in on a Sunday morning into the fellowship area, and there'd be a number of buckets on the floor in an area where an adult Sunday school class was being held because there was water dripping from the ceiling. And couldn't sit in those areas. And so people, rearranged the furniture and everything. And they put up with that for a number of years because there were other issues going on that they just didn't have the wherewithal to face. So we had a brainstorming session. What are the needs? It's amazing what they came up with. The needs they saw and the things they really wanted to do. And if we hadn't asked, we wouldn't have known half of those things. We would not have known half of those. The whole area that had been the church offices got transformed into really nice handicapped accessible restrooms. They didn't have something like that. The roof got fixed, and they extended the area of their fellowship area so that when they had bigger meals, there was more room to sit. So they extended that area. They added an elevator, a really nice elevator, so that people who were handicapped or had difficulty with the stairs could get from the fellowship area up to the worship area, which meant climbing a flight of stairs without that elevator. And it was a way to get caskets in and out of the worship area when there were funerals. And it was a wonderful blessing that they did this. So there were a lot of things on that wish list that got accomplished that would never have happened if we hadn't had that session where people got to voice the concerns and the ideas that they had, the needs that they saw, that they wanted taken care of. And yes, those were expensive needs because it required some extensive remodeling. But it was needs that they saw and wanted to deal with. So they have been. And it's a beautiful thing when people come together and say, these are the needs we see. These are our priorities. Let's do this. How do we get involved with it? We make a difference by allowing people to choose and decide what's most important to them. So that's one way to make a difference with all of that. You see, the needs are so many. And we have to have a way of allowing people to express those needs. We have to have a way of saying, okay, who are the people who are needing? One of the other things that's important is to ask people to share their needs. There are times where people are like in a hospital or have a situation going on at home, and they never tell the faith leader. If you've never had that experience, blessings to you. I've sometimes been the last one to find out. Oh, so-and-so's in the hospital. Oh, nobody told me. So of course I haven't been there to visit. You know, I want to go see the person. I want to be able to be there, but I can't if I don't know they're in the hospital. I can't if I don't know somebody's moved to a retirement community. I can't go visit. So make sure you tell the faith leaders that faith leaders get that kind of communication. That's another way to address those needs. So what are the ways that work in your faith community to highlight the needs, prioritize them, and then get people involved to address those needs? Not just once, but to take on some of these things as ways to be in ministry for your own members and for the wider community. And maybe, yes, just maybe, all the way out, well beyond your community, well beyond the country, to some other part of the world. Adopt a missionary, something like that. There are congregations who do that and find that a beautiful ministry too. So lots of ideas here. What's going to work for you? What's the best place for you to start? That's what you need to do. Pick part of this and get started with it. But listen and ask, and then find out what people are willing to do. So my need now is to say farewell for this episode of the Tilted Halo, but also to say I look forward to hearing you and having you with me on the next one. Until then, God's blessings and God's love to each and every one of you. You have been listening to Tilted Halo with me, Kathleen Panning. What did you think about this episode? I'd really like to hear from you. Leave me some comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode. And catch another upcoming episode for more conversation on ministry, life, mindset, and a whole lot more. Go to www.tiltedhalohelp.com, where I've got a resource guide and other resources waiting for you. And be sure to say hi to me, Kathleen Panning, on LinkedIn. See you on the next episode.